Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Welcome to Live Real Talk. Yet another beautiful, lovely evening that I'm here with an amazing guest. You've seen her before. You like her, you request for her. I mean, amazing, great, objective opinions that she always pours her wisdom right here on the set. That's why we have her back to discuss about the ceasefire in Palestine. And alhamdulillah, I mean, this from 15th of October 2023 to recently ceasefire that was called in Gaza. Of course, 471 days will go in history as one of the longest, stretchest wars that we've seen between Israel and Gaza since 1948, when they started among what is commonly referred to as the first Nakba. We have lost children, we have lost civilians, we have lost women, we've lost innocent citizens, and of course the war was ongoing on and on and on and on. Companies have lost billions, people have lost, families have lost their loved ones, journalists, doctors, all of them included. None of them was spared, but all that came to an end when the ceasefire deal was reached. But is it really an end? And the other thing is, what is the impact of that ceasefire deal? And the other thing is, what now is the roadmap moving forward? Who does what? How do we take it from there? Well, how does Palestine and Israel and Gaza in general, how do they rebuild? The U.S. election recently, with the win of Donald Trump being sworn in as official protest right now, how will it impact what is happening right now between Israel and Palestine? All these and many other questions that we want to unpack right here on Live Real Talk tonight with my guest, the amazing Sefu Sanni. Hi, Sanni. How are you?
I'm fine, thank you.
Assalamu alaikum.
Oh, assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum salam. How are you?
Alaikum
salam. Thank you so much for always being there when we want to get some objective wisdom oozing from your brain. Thank you so much for making time for us.
I'm glad to be here as well. So thank you for the call, and hopefully we'll do this more.
Great, beautiful. So just straight into it. Recently, just a few days ago, we got the news of the ceasefire between Palestine and Israel. How did that make you feel?
How did that make me feel? I think it made me feel a lot of things. You know, first of all, Faisal, we're talking about a ceasefire between Palestine and Israel. I would like to, first of all, call it a ceasefire between Gaza and Israel. Why?
Is it really Gaza?
I want to say that because I feel strongly that the ceasefire has not extended to most parts that were fighting. For example, if you look at the West Bank, there's still a lot of military presence there. So, I mean, if we have a ceasefire, it is possibly in one part of Palestine, but in other places it is not being observed. Even as of today, we are seeing a lot of women and children and men as well who are still undergoing atrocities at the West Bank, meaning that the military of Israel has not completely retreated from, the region of Palestine as a whole. If you're going to have a ceasefire, it is not going to be in just one area of a country. For example, if we had the Mau Mau here, and of course we had our people who are fighting against the colonialism of the British people. If the British people had their presence in the White Highlands and in the Rift Valley and in Western Kenya and in different parts of the country, and then they were like, all right, we're going to withdraw from the White Highlands or from these highlands, does that mean that they have withdrawn from Western Kenya?
Not necessarily. I mean, you also need, you're also looking at the fact that this ceasefire, the whole deal, the pact, we're going to be in phases. So there's a first phase of withdrawal, of course, something that takes time, right?
Yes.
Actually, just hop
I should have started by this. More power to the people of Palestine. The main aim was to annihilate these people. The main aim of this whole war, for the last 2 years was to completely erase the people of Palestine from the earth.
From the face,
From the face of the earth. But these people have waged such a strong resistance this whole time against such big, I'll call them imperialist countries in the world. When you look at Israel, Tel Aviv, which is the headquarters of imperialism, they're the ones who gave Washington the go-ahead. when you look at America, when you look at France, when you look at all these people who are supporting
Canada, Germany,
yes, all of them, I mean, name them, who are supporting, you know, this war. What I want to say is that the people of Palestine have been so resilient, and of course, I am so proud. Even at the Kenya Left Alliance, the World March of Women, which I both represent, we are so proud that these people have been able to be so resilient, and even by now, we still have Palestinians who can stand and say, you know what, this is our country. So the first thing is, of course, I'm very happy because what was meant to annihilate these people or to defeat them did not serve that purpose. You know, there's a saying that says, they killed us, but they didn't know that we were seeds. You know, when we were buried, we grew much bigger. And I think this relates so much with Palestine. Like, people try to kill them, you know, people try to annihilate them, but they were seeds. They got buried in the ground and they've risen up. So first of all, I mean, this is a big victory, I would say, for the people of Palestine, because nobody expected this. The Israeli, when they went into this war, they didn't think that they were going to come out one day and, you know, the whole world is saying ceasefire, you know. So for the people of Palestine, for waging this, for coming out strong, you know, I am very proud, and I say,
openly biased.
Libre Palestina. Libre Palestina. You know, we want Palestine to be free, and for the people of Palestine to be able to have their sovereignty, and for them not to be colonized, you know, the way some of us were.
So what do you think this has done to the people of Palestine? I mean, in terms of where they are mentally, where they are militarily, where they are in terms of their spirits, you know, because, I mean, just to further add on to the thing that you said, that whatever they killed us, they thought they killed us, not knowing that. What doesn't kill you makes you stronger.
Absolutely.
So from where you sit, what do you think then this ceasefire has done to the people of Palestine? I mean, because as you said, the military officer commander once came out, I remember in November 2023, saying that they were going to wipe out Gaza and there'll be no living single Hamas or Palestinian in the face of the earth. They're going to wipe them out. But again, when the ceasefire was announced, we saw them in their thousands on the streets celebrating, you know. So what do you think this ceasefire is going to do to them?
Oh, of course, I think the ceasefire has given the Palestinians a lot of hope, you know, and a lot of strength for them to be able, like, they can actually fight. And that the people who died, you know, the children, the women, the men, that it was not in vain, that, you know, it was their blood that watered, you know, this soil of liberation. Of course, this is not how it has to be. It is not okay that people have to die, or there has to be a war in the magnitude that we have seen, you know, in Gaza, in Palestine, for people to be free. But that they have waged this war and they have fought so hard for their land, but it is bearing fruit. You know, the whole world now is coming out in support of Palestine. Even people.
What fruit is it bearing? I mean,
the fruit is the ceasefire. The fruit is the ceasefire, Faisal, because, I mean, in 2023, you would not have thought that this would happen. In 2024, you would not have thought that this has happened. So the ceasefire is a good thing. The only thing, you know, that is a bit of an issue here is how long this ceasefire is going to be for. And this is where I think the international community should come in very strong, because the fight for Palestine is not just about Palestinians. It's about all of us who've been there and who do not want to be there. As Kenyans, we went through such a thing, you know, when we were fighting the Mau Mau, and when we wanted to have our sovereignty, and I'm sure many other African countries have gone through it. We've seen South Africa, we've seen Mozambique, we've seen Angola, many other countries. We've seen the people in Cuba, Fidel Castro, they waged a serious war. So that is the same with the people of Palestine, who are waging this, who have waged this war, and now there's a glimmer of hope. The only impediment here is that this glimmer of hope should not be something that lasts a short
temporary thing.
Yes, and we have seen now, I mean, if we debunk it much more with the election of Donald Trump, who is an extreme right politician. We've seen the policies that they have when it comes to international politics and how they behave. And recently, I think Donald Trump was saying, you know, I'm not confident that this is going to be a long-term thing. We know that the son-in-law of Donald Trump, Jared Kushner, is an Israeli. We know another thing that is so worrying is that the foreign minister, at least the one who's been announced in Trump's government, is also an ex-Israeli soldier.
I mean, Israelis, they have that leeway of having dual citizenship all over the world. Like, for as long as you're holding an Israeli passport as an indigenous Israeli, then you have the leeway. I don't know, is it a convention, UN convention, UN resolution? I don't know. But I mean, from the status of the Holocaust, so that gave them the leeway that for as long as you're holding that passport, then you can hold another passport, so you can be a dual citizen.
I want to say that, first of all, I greatly condemn the Holocaust that happened to the Israeli people at that time. And I think that for those people, especially at that time, who were trying to liberate themselves, it was a good thing that they were allowed to do that. But in the same way that there was a Holocaust of Israeli people, the same Holocaust is happening
the same Holocaust we witnessed here in
to the Palestinian people. So, I mean, I know you're the one asking questions, Faisal.
Should we extend the...
so I'm just going to ask you, like, do you think that Palestinians should also have dual citizenship and be able to hold such, high positions of power in other countries, like in the United States? And we've seen, of course, a lot of, I don't know whether to call it hatred or maybe I can find other words for it. And there was misconceptions or, like preconceptions, more or less, when it comes to people of Islam origin or people who
Islamophobia, just call it Islamophobia.
Let me call it Islamophobia.
Call it for what it is.
Especially in the U.S. Do you think the same grace would be extended to the people of Palestine who have
highly
honestly experienced a genocide?
Highly unlikely.
In our eyes.
We witnessed countries close to Palestine closing their borders. We witnessed countries close to Palestine closing their borders.
Because they were scared.
Exactly. Jordan, Egypt. We saw them closing their borders right in front of our eyes. And it is quite unfortunate. I mean, the other thing also you need to factor it in is that there is some sense of political and strength and mighty bias right here in the world right now. Right? See, Israel, in my opinion, may be getting... Wait, who's interviewing who?
Yeah. I think now I should get a job here to interview.
Should he change his? I mean, in my opinion, based on the military supremacy and the intellectual supremacy, of course, there is no monopoly of intelligence, but again, you got to give it to them. The people of Israel are really smart. The Israelis, they are really smart. So
we don't deny it. Exactly.
So because of that, then I think they have been supporting the who is who, the imperialists in this of this world order today. And in return, maybe that's some of the things that they've been getting. So that's what I'm saying. There's some aspect of supremacy bias, political bias, right, that has cushioned that sort of an arrangement,
I agree with you, Faisal. Of course, internationally, there's an aspect of bias. Where is the bias coming from? It's coming from the kind of politics that is happening internationally and trickling down to different nations. What kind of politics is it? It is far-right, fascist, imperialist, one that does exploitation of person by person, exploitation of resources from different parts of the country. Look at Congo. Look at Kenya now, which is becoming a 51st state of the United States, or at least at some point.
Is it? Is it though?
You doubt it a bit?
Is it though? I mean, especially the coming of far right, because I mean, initially it was the Democrats. I mean, Kenya has always had this dalliance with the Democrats more than the Republicans. I mean, the only Republican we saw having this sort of an arrangement was Uhuru Kenyatta with Donald Trump in the previous Trump administration. I mean, we saw that closeness and almost something coming up. But again, you can think of Kibaki and George W. Bush. I mean, we didn't see much as Kenyans.
Because it was none of our business. Because Kibaki chose to go east. Why did he go east? He went east with China.
For business.
And because of that, I mean, look at what happened in Kibaki's regime. We had very good roads. We had free primary education. We had so many things that we achieved. We had the Vision 2030. And when you look at most of the things that are being implemented now, some people want to come up, these are our strategies, and no, they're not. They're things that happened in 2003 and that were part of the Vision 2030 of this country.
Exactly.
So what I'm saying is that we can see the benefits of going east at that time for Kibaki.
Yes.
What are the benefits of going west? And now this brings about the congruence, the dissection, the antithesis of politics. I'm sorry if I said. Look at the east. They are predominantly socialist, predominantly communist, predominantly, we're going to
industrialists.
We're going to have a community land. We're going to have, the rights of the workers, being respected, such things. Look at the West. What is it about? It's about me. I need to get more money. I need to be, you know, I need to be good.
More capitalistic.
More capitalistic, but now what is capitalism? It's exploitation of person by person, that I can exploit you. So long as I am okay, I don't care what is happening to my neighbor or to the other people around me. I can plunder resources of a country and not care who's going to pay, and how many generations are going to come after me, so long as I'm okay, and maybe my children and my 5 wives are okay too.
Gotta give it to them. I mean, with the recent moves about the climate change and the clean energy.
What moves, sir?
Clean energy.
That is
the
being
crops
brought
that
about.
have
What
been,
are the moves? We've
the crops that are being hosted.
Animals being vaccinated. That is part of. Do you think that is okay?
That's what I'm saying.
We have seen laws, seed laws in this country that say that you and me cannot share seeds. Mimi kona seed. Excuse me. Mimi niko na seed ya ndengu na wewe uko na seed ya ndengu, and they're different breeds. Lakini hatuwezi kufanya nini? Hatuwezi change. Kwa sababu gani? Lazima we go through sijui a lawyer, we have to go through sijui wash legislation, we have to pay a certain amount of money. What kind of nonsense
My
is that?
thinking is that, I mean, Sefu, I see where you're coming from, 100% justified, I agree with you, but again, I'm just saying, with the recent moves of cotton, clean energy,
I want you to tell me what those moves are. What are they?
COP whatever, COP Dubai,
what does COP
Kenya.
have to do with Kenya?
Coming up with resolutions, for example, the carbon credits.
How are those implemented?
Assuming,
for carbon credits, how much do we emit to the world?
Assuming,
please,
that there is no capitalistic gains in it, assuming that they have the best of intentions for the environment and the globe.
That's foolhardy.
Assuming, that's what I'm saying, assuming they're the best intentions for the climate and the globe, genuinely.
Yeah.
So that's why they're pulling these moves. And maybe there is a change of heart. But again, still going back to Donald Trump win and how it's going to influence this thing.
Yeah.
I mean, you gave the example about Kenya. And I said, we have not seen much dalliance between Kenya and the Republicans per se. Kenyans are the Democrats, yes. We saw Ruto and Biden, boom. We saw Uhuru and Obama, boom. We saw all that. The closest we've seen that almost bore fruits was between Uhuru and Trump, which we didn't see much. Anyway, still coming back to it. Donald Trump, in his first term, I mean, unlike the Democrats, I didn't see any initiation of war or intervention that happened during Donald Trump's first term.
The only thing I'm going to say to you, Faisal, is this. The U.S. administration is 2 sides of the same coin. The Republicans, the Democrats, they're 2 sides of the same coin. Their foreign policy is, give or take, maybe 90 and 95%. Like, there's only a 5% difference between their foreign policy. I mean, it was Trump who said that we need to change the capital of Israel to Jerusalem, and he just declared it, you know, and he didn't care about what was going on at that time. He declared it because he was pro-Israeli, and he said, I mean, this is the will.
Granted, but again, my point is, Sefu, is if you look at the whole Trump's first administration, no intervention, no war, no quote-unquote peacekeeping.
So are you trying to say that he's a better person because the Democrats brought war?
I'm not about the Democrats. I mean, I'm talking about Trump, him as a person. The foreign policy can be there, but again, at the end of the day, it is dependent on the goodwill of the person at the helm, right? And this person at the helm, how exactly is he thinking? What is his direction?
I mean, is it about Trump? Trump is he's being prompted by a party, the Republican Party. So it's not even his own, it's not like his own laws or policies. It is just that he is the face. He's a custodian. He's a custodian, and he does what the party tells him. So it's not like these are his own, they're not his own rules.
And even if you look at the people around him, I mean, these are all, let's say, business people, business-oriented, economy-oriented.
So what you're saying is these are the bourgeois, these are the top class in the society.
They may not necessarily be the top class, actually. The top
they don't
class
care
may
about
be
the issues
elite.
of the working class. That is why they're bringing issues of immigration.
But again, we're looking at the correlation of Donald Trump coming in. How's it going to impact the Gaza war? And I'm trying to draw an example. This person we saw during his tenure is when we saw what happened in Afghan. Right? Like, what I'm trying to say is that this person, I think, in my opinion, is focused more on the economy and more on bringing money to America, not taking money out of America. We saw how much Biden contributed to this war.
Faisal, who do you think is credited for this ceasefire? Is it Biden or is it Trump?
None.
And why is there a big debacle about who it is?
None.
And why do you think that this ceasefire should come exactly at the time when Trump is being inaugurated as president? Do you think it's a Trojan horse? And can you honestly tell me that you are so I want to find a better word to use. That you are so naive that you would look at it and say, oh, wow, he's done so much for us.
It's not him. I'm not crediting him.
It's a Trojan horse. That's all
I'm not crediting him.
And the reason why it has come when Trump is being inaugurated is because for the 4 years that the Biden-Harris administration was in place, this whole Palestinian thing was a big issue. Like, we were going out in the streets all over the world, people saying that we need to free Palestine. Recently, I attended an anti-fascist conference in Venezuela, and they were talking about Palestine being free, and that was, bringing about delegates from all over the world.
Yeah.
So my point to you is this. I mean, if the Trump administration is saying that they are the ones behind this, but we know who they are, and we know the policies that they've been behind previously, then this is just a Trojan horse, because this was a big outcry previously by the people of America and the people of the world, saying that we cannot have such an injustice. So the only thing in my opinion, is trying to do is to hoodwink the people of America and the people of the world to say that, oh, see what I've done? I just became president and there's a ceasefire. And then the next minute he says, oh yeah, but we don't know how long the ceasefire is going to take. So now after he's president for 2 months, it's like, okay, guys,
we start again.
Yeah, please.
Where were
because
we?
Yes, I mean, the finance minister for Israel says, if this thing doesn't come back after 42 days, I'm going to resign. And what does that mean? It means that Benjamin Netanyahu doesn't have the majority of the people that he needs to have in parliament. So that is a huge threat. I want you
to hold on that, because you're due for a fast break. You're actually overriding on our fast break. So please, let's do that. Let's go for a fast break. But please do not go anywhere. Well, this is a very nice conversation that we want to see the end of it. Please don't touch that dial. See you in a few. Please don't touch that dial. See you in a few.
Amongst people, Allah will afflict them all with calamities. And then he concludes by saying, أطيعوني ما أطعت الله ورسوله فإذا عصيت الله ورسوله فلا طاعة لي عليكم. Obey me as long as I obey Allah and His Messenger. But if I disobey them, then there is no duty upon you to obey me. That's it. This was Abu Bakr's manifesto, promising the believers that he would live and die upon the religion of the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and he was true to his every word. During his short reign, Abu Bakr unified the Islamic nation under the central authority of Medina after the wars of apostasy. A series of civil wars would also take place by rebel separatists, and after eliminating these false prophets who emerged, including Musaylama, who was the strongest of the insurgent leaders. And these successes led to a mighty central government in the Arabian Peninsula and paved the way for the expansion of Islam into Syria and Iraq. He also began the process of compiling the Quran into a single book format, a single manuscript, which was, prior to this, preserved in the hearts and the minds of the believers, as well as in scattered manuscripts in different parts. Before the death of Abu Bakr, Muslims marched from Iraq to Damascus. They defeated a large Byzantine army in Ajnadin in Palestine, which gave the Muslims a foothold in that country. So during Abu Bakr's short reign, the Islamic State launched from its infancy and embarked on a movement of expansion which produced the subsequent Islamic empires. His were years of blessings and prosperity and unity, unrelenting adherence to the prophetic way. Abu Bakr's position as Caliph Khalifa lasted little over 2 years and 3 months before he suffered his final illness. Upon sensing that his life was coming to an end, Abu Bakr called Uthman to write his will on his behalf. In this will, Abu Bakr appointed Umar ibn al-Khattab as the next caliph of the Muslims. And he said, after praising Allah, I nominate Umar ibn al-Khattab as my successor. So listen to him and obey him. If he acts right, then this is what I hope and assume of him. If he transgresses and he commits evil, then I cannot see into the future, and every person shall receive a share of what he earned. And those who have wronged are going to know what kind of return they will be returned to. As he lay on his deathbed, inhaling his final gasps of air, Abu Bakr asked his daughter Aisha, what day is this? She said, it's Monday. And so when he heard this, he said, فَإِن مِتُّ مِن لَيْلَتِي فَلَا تَنْتَظِرُوا بِيَ الْغَدْ فَإِنَّ أَحَبَّ الْأَيَّامِ وَاللَّيَالِ إِلَيْهِ أَقْرَبُهَا مِنْ رَسُولِ اللَّهِ صلى الله عليه وسلم. If I die tonight, he said, please don't wait until tomorrow, bury me instantly. Because the most beloved of days and nights to me are those that are closest to the Messenger of Allah.
Horizon TV, the beacon for the nation.
Assalamu alaikum. Thank you so much for keeping it live, Real Talk. Welcome back. And we're discussing about the ceasefire in Palestine, in particular Gaza, something that a news that was received warmly, celebrated, still people jubilating until now. But unfortunately, there are others who are suffering in places like Jenin in the West Bank and all that. But we pray to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to also extend the ceasefire to those areas. We are talking to one of the human rights defenders right here in the country, globally acknowledged and respected as a human rights defender. That is Sefu Sanni. Karibu.
Where? It's hot.
Trump's administration, how will it impact this ceasefire, Sefu? That's what we were talking about just before the break.
Yes, we were. And even as I was telling you then, Faisal, Trump's administration the ceasefire is a Trojan horse. It's a Trojan horse because they're using it, to get good optics from the world and also from the people of America. Yeah. Because the ceasefire is at the heart of so many people across the world.
All over the world, yeah.
We have seen protests. We have seen, we have seen programs. We have seen events, about Palestine and free Palestine. So of course, if they want, to be received well and to do something that people will talk about, then this is what the Trump administration is doing. And that is why I was asking you, why is the ceasefire coming
just
right,
today?
yes, yeah. Right during the inauguration of Trump or a few days before?
So in your opinion, this is not a permanent thing, it's just a temporary thing?
I would want it. I do want it to be permanent. That is one thing. Number two, as I said earlier,
from your own analysis,
I am very proud of the people of Palestine and all of us at large, the World March of Women, the Kenya Left Alliance, and all the people who support the liberation of Palestine. I'm very proud that these people are so resilient. They have fought, and even right now, when the military in Israel is not necessarily being nice to the people in Gaza, even. I mean, when people are moving in, they're still imposing some things that are not necessarily humane, but they're also shocked that we thought we killed these people. Yeah. How come there are so many of them enlisting, in their military? How come there are so many of them still standing? So for the resilience of the people of Palestine, I am very proud. The ceasefire is a positive thing because the only thing it does, it gives hope to the oppressed that even that person who is so mighty can be brought down. So that is a positive thing. The other thing I'm saying is that I'm also not going to be naive to look at it and say, oh, wow, oh, Trump administration, they're so amazing. No, I see it for what it exactly is, a Trojan horse. And they're using this, of course, like many other politicians would do, as propaganda.
Tumetenga amani.
Yeah, tumetenga ndio, tumeleta, tumefanya. So this is extremely good for the Trump administration. Another thing now, Faisal, if this was truly the Trump administration, why is there rivalry between Trump and Biden? Because Trump says, oh yeah, it was me, look at me, and I've done this. And then Biden says, no, it was me. I'm the one who sent people. Another thing,
what I'd like to
sorry,
look at,
I'll override you for a bit. But
please.
If the reason why I'm also saying that it's a Trojan horse is this: these are the same people who keep sending supplies to Israel. They send firearms, they send all those things. If you're sending firearms to people and calling for a ceasefire, are you really calling for a ceasefire? You're preparing for something.
I mean, personally, for me, I'd like to look at it beyond the Americans, because I mean, throughout the negotiations, I never saw the name of America popping anywhere apart from Blinken once in a while, popping in and out. But again, the prominent names that I've had coming over and over and over and over again are names like Qatar in Doha, where a lot of negotiations happen. Names like Fatih el-Sisi and the diplomats from Egypt. I mean, those are the names that really were prominent in trying to discuss and even releasing of the hostages through and through.
Again, naivety, right? Faisal, because do you think that the Trump administration would come with their people and
as I said, I like to look at it even beyond America and all the players in America.
We cannot do that because these are the people. You know what? This is not, first of all, I'll just say this. This is not an Israeli-Palestine war. This is an American war. They are just using the Israelis to push whatever. And not just Americans, other people who keep supporting it. So the reason why I'm mentioning them is you need to, it's not the dog that is barking, it's the owner of the dog. So I am calling the owner of the dog and you are calling the dog. So, and you're saying, oh no, we don't need to call the owner, let's just call the dog. It's the dog that is barking. I'm telling you, the dog is barking because there's an owner who's saying, sa, sa.
As a media practitioner, I can only speak on something that I can prove. That's what I'm saying. So what makes you say that? What makes you think that? It's an American war.
I'm
bound by the Media Council of Kenya.
Yes, you are, Faisal. You're also bound to say that, I mean, the Trump administration has, even the Biden administration has supported Israel throughout. Yes, I mean, Netanyahu has an arrest warrant.
And we've said that
who are the people who voted against that? Yeah. So why are you saying that these people are not supporting? I mean, this is not
say they are not supporting.
It's not hearsay. It's not something that I'm picking up from somewhere. This is something that we've seen.
You say it's an American war.
We've seen it at the UN. We've seen it at the Security Council. Yes. We've seen it with the arms that are going to Israel. We have openly seen it. Yeah. Why are people saying that? I mean, you've been talking here about the Trump administration and they're the one who did this. Why did you say that?
I didn't say they did this. I did not say they did this. I did not say. What I asked is that with the winning of Trump, right? And we all know where the way America has been supporting Israel. How do you think?
But he's the one who took. I mean, he said that it was because of him.
I cannot prove that, so I will not be here to say that.
Oh.
Yes.
Yeah, but that is there. Like when you go to CNN,
yes,
there that he said
it's
it. When
there,
you go
they
to
said it.
Fox News, when you go to AFP, and when you go to. So I'm just citing media sources for you.
If you can recall what I said, is that I would like to look at this ceasefire beyond America and all the players.
All right.
Because through and through, I never saw America anywhere. I never had America anywhere apart from Blinken in the mediation.
I'm not talking about the mediation. I'm talking from 2023. And what has been the foreign...
know what America
I'm talking
has done.
About the foreign policy. So
yes.
Each country has a foreign policy.
Granted.
Are you aware of what Kenya's foreign policy is towards the Israeli aggression? Are you aware? I mean, this is not something I'm making up. It is foreign policy.
Kenya has been playing cocktail diplomacy about this.
It has not. If anything, Kenya has taken the side of Israel very clearly, Faisal. And this is out there in our foreign policy.
I mean, the president was in Saudi, he made a different statement.
This is policy you can see clearly. When you go to South Africa, their foreign policy is very clear.
Clear, 100%.
And I can tell you, from the ANC, from the EFF, all of them,
but again, the President Ruto, when he was in Saudi, he made a different statement.
When it comes to the issue of Palestine, yes. Faisal, what I'm telling you is, when you look at South Africa, for example, with all the divisions they have,
yes.
the issue of Palestine, they have a foreign policy. So same to us as Kenyans, we have a foreign policy. How do we relate to other countries? What are our rules and regulations? It doesn't matter what the president says. He can stand up and say one thing here, but what is our foreign policy? Our foreign policy is very clear. It is very out there, and it has been out there, that Kenya is in support of who? Of Israel. Well, that is something that is substantiated. It is out there, and there are different people. When you look at Cuba, for example, their foreign policy is very clear, and it has been there that we are in support of the oppressed. We are in support of Palestine. We are in support of Western Sahara. It is very clear, you know, this is where they stand. So the same thing when it comes to America. They also have a foreign policy. I know you cannot sit here and tell me, Faisal, honestly, that you are not aware of the foreign policy of the American people when it comes to the Israel aggression in Gaza. It is very clear to everybody in the world. And when even I start saying, if people are giving you arms, if people are giving you, support to continue. If today, Faisal, you beat me up and I'm almost dead, and you're supposed to be in jail, and someone says, no, Faisal, I in the jail, uyu, apana, no, it can't happen. What does that mean? It means that this person is absolutely in support of you, no matter what atrocities you've done. That is the same thing that America has been all this time. When Kamala Harris was doing her campaigns, she kept saying that, okay, when I become president, this is something I want to do. Why? Because their foreign policy was different. Their foreign policy was pro-Israeli, and people in the world came out to say, no, it cannot be like this. We cannot stand by and watch people dying. We cannot stand by and, watch an atrocity, a genocide of this magnitude on the people of Palestine only because they're fighting for their land. So when you say that this is not an American war, then I am very fazed, and I'm just like, okay, what are we saying? Yeah.
You're saying this is Israel-Palestinian war. That's what
this is Israeli aggression in Palestine.
Thank you, Israeli aggression.
I think semantics are very important, because it is Israel who is aggressing Palestine. It's not the Palestinians who are fighting them. They have to defend themselves because somebody is aggressing towards them. But it's an Israeli aggression. And all the people who are supporting Israel, they are de facto callers of this war. America is doing that. France is doing that. Germany is doing that.
UK is doing it.
Yes. Why are they supporting? Why have they all come together? Imperialism, fascism.
Bringing the point back home, as Kenyans, after the ceasefire that we hoped it to be permanent, still, right now we are still in the phase of trying to understand or look at experience the phases of this ceasefire. What then would be your advice to Kenyans in terms of then how do we move from here in terms of the boycott, in terms of call for the liberation of Palestine and the free Palestine? What exactly would you advise Kenyans to do? Do we put our arms down in terms of the noise we're making on social media? Do we relax on the boycott activities that we are doing? What exactly do we do? How do we move?
When you talk about Kenyans, are you talking about the people or the government?
The people.
The people. One thing I want to say, Faisal, is I want to acknowledge many people who have done a lot of work when it comes to speaking out against the atrocities in Palestine.
Yeah.
I know about the Kenya-Palestine Solidarity Movement, which I've supported myself, the Kenya Left Alliance, the World March of Women, the Communist Party of Kenya, very many people, the Kenya Human Rights Commission, and a plethora, Mathare Social Justice Center. I cannot mention all of them here today, but I know that very many social movements and political parties on the left have really been speaking out about this. One thing that I want to say is that there's a lot of political education that needs to be done in this country, because a lot of the times, I'm a Christian myself, the issue of Palestine has been made out to be a religious issue, and this is why in our country I feel there's a very big divide. It's like, oh, we need to protect God's chosen people, we need to be on their side no matter what. And I think there's a lot of political education that needs to happen so that we can debunk this, so that we understand why are certain people, supporting Palestine and saying Palestine should be free. Before 1948, before Israel was allocated to be in the Middle East, they had been allocated to be in Kenya,
in 1923.
In the Rift Valley, and they were going to take out, a part of our people and say that is Israel. Well, in one way or another, we were able to avert that and have our nation in the way that it is. But if anything, Faisal, that would be us today as Kenyans, trying to fight for our land and saying that this is our people and this is where Koitalel Samoe was born. How can you say that this is your land? In the same way, we need to have a lot of information going out there about the Palestinian people, about their history, and about why is it that they are fighting back. Another thing, I know that this is a highly religious TV station, but I would also suggest that we separate the issue of Palestine from being a religious issue, because strongly I believe this is the biggest deterrent for us here in Kenya from being able to see this clearly. So if we can separate it from that, so that it's not a fight of us, we are Christian and we're fighting for whoever, and us, we are these people, that is going to be successful.
So who's to do it?
It is us, Faisal.
I've seen the pastors coming out. I mean, I've seen the pastors coming out. I've seen Irungu Houghton coming out. I've seen Haki Africa. I've seen the likes of Madhare's social. I've seen you coming out. So it's being done.
Yes, Faisal, but we need to do it greater. It's not just here for you and me. We need to go to the grassroots. We need to talk, and it's a lot of work. That's why it's difficult. We need to talk to the people. We need to sit with them and debunk their ideas, and that's not a day's work. That is a day that needs, as I said, political education over a long period of time.
Continuous civic education.
Continuous political. I'm very clear.
Not civic.
Political education. Civic education is, talking to the people, how do you take care of yourself after you give birth? And this water is not good, it's going to give you dysentery. But I'm being very specific when I say political education, because the issue of Palestine is a political one. It is one where the people are want to get sovereignty of their land, of their ancestors, or where they belong. So it's a political issue, and we need to do a lot of political education, even as we do political education in other issues when it comes to the leadership and governance of this country. Then it needs to stem from political education, where we don't, for example, here we don't think that for somebody to be a politician, they need to come with a lot of money and give it to me and then they can go. That is political education, and it's a lot of work we need to do. In the same manner for the Palestinian issue, we need to put in that amount of work in our country for people to understand what exactly is this that we are fighting for. Is this a religious issue? No. It's political. Okay. Relate Hamas to the Mau Mau, that the Mau Mau were fighting for our land, and Hamas, they're fighting for their land and for their sovereignty. I know in 1963, Mau Mau was mentioned as a terrorist group, and it was only until 2003, can you imagine, that this was lifted. Why? Because, their enemies were the ones who were in charge of leadership and governance, so it needed a lot for people to come out and say, no. That's the amount of work we need to do in our country, and that amount of work is also going to influence our foreign policy when it comes to the issue of Palestine, the issue of the sovereignty of the people of Palestine, the people of Gaza.
Where do you stand with the issue of, for example, the boycott? When I asked you, so do you put our guards down and say, now we have ceasefire, so we go back to life as was, or how exactly?
Of course not. We continue with the boycotts until such a time that we are 100% sure that that this is, it is absolutely true and it's permanent. What will
be the indicators?
The indicators, I don't understand.
What will be the indicators for us to know, like, this is a permanent thing?
Oh, I don't know, maybe something that is signed internationally for me it would be all countries of the world coming together and signing this pact and saying, this is where we all stand on this, and these are the repercussions for all of us, up to and including the big dogs. Yeah, when it comes to this genocide, that is the only way. That happened in South Africa when the whole world stood up and said there cannot be apartheid in this country. That can happen again now when we all stand up and say this cannot be happening in Palestine, and this cannot be happening. Yes, it cannot be happening, by any of the big dogs or any other person in this world.
Wow. Thanks so much, Sefu Sanni. Asante sana for making time.
You're welcome.
Where? Let me breathe fire. Now, 1 minute past 9 o'clock, and that's how we're calling it wraps right here on Horizon TV. As you heard Sefu Sanni say, we are not putting our guards down just yet. We are still fighting for a fully liberated Palestinians. Right now, personally, my expectation is I'd like to see the so-called BRICS who are in support of the Palestinian cause to go and help them rebuild their country, rebuild the hospitals, rebuild the schools, and just rebuild the country. Let's go back to how things were pre-15th October of 2023. My name is Faisal Kassim, and thank you so much for keeping it live, Real Talk, throughout the hour. See you next week, same place, same time. Assalamu alaikum.